Join us for episode 231 of the Campus Comics Cast, where I will do my best not to rush through things, as I am anxious to go and watch the second season of Daredevil Born Again. This is Scott Reed, and I'm joined by
Mike Atchison.
Hey, and on this episode, we are going to be discussing the first 5 appearances of Matt Wagner's Grendel, and then discuss the 3 new titles, maybe 2 new titles, depending on your perspective, for the revamped DC Vertigo. But first, Mike, we got some listener feedback?
Yeah. There's a gentleman named George from Meanwhile at the Podcast that I've been on his show a couple times. He's been on the road show a couple times. And he just happened to send me a text recently that was very complimentary. He just basically said, you know what, I can't wait to listen to the next Campus Comics Cast. I really like that show, and that you guys do the best previews coverage. Wow. And he says since there isn't one big catalog anymore, he relies on the two of us to keep him informed about things outside the mainstream, which we do. We cover a lot of stuff outside of Marvel and DC.
We try to, but it's got to catch our eye. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
It's got to catch our eye. So.
And he says that was always the favorite part of the catalog for him, and he says that our first 5s are fun as well. So
awesome!
I thought it was it wasn't just a thumbs up. It was a pretty good comment, and I appreciate it, George.
Thank you, George.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now in some not so great news, if you had not heard, Sam Kieth passed away at the age of 63. Of course, he's probably best known for his time at Image on the Max. I think the series ran 33-ish issues, but he's been a cover artist for lots of different things. So, Mike, what are some of your reflections on Sam Kieth?
I mean, I guess my first time seeing his stuff was with Neil Gaiman on The Sandman, because he penciled the first 5 issues, which was the Preludes and Nocturnes story arc. I can't say, I mean, I know him from some covers. I knew him from the Max, which I never actually read, I don't think, but he did some Batman covers or something, but yeah, he's technically a co-creator on The Sandman, which is kind of a big deal. But yeah, it's a very young age to go.
Yeah, 63,
I didn't know about it until you told me right before we started recording tonight.
Yeah, so we're recording on the 24th, and you said that you saw a date that he had passed on the 15th?
That's what Wikipedia says.
Okay, so I just learned about it 2 days ago on Key Collector, and then, or actually no, I think I learned about it someplace else, and then within a few hours, Key Collector had it posted. So it's fresh as far as being announced, and I've even seen yesterday and today people are still posting some tributes as they are learning about his passing. Now, I was not familiar with so what he passed from is something called Lewy body dementia, which apparently, I guess maybe it manifests similar as what Alzheimer's does. So obviously that's not how you want to go. So that's very unfortunate for somebody who is really such a talented artist. They talk about it affecting motor function and memory. So pretty rough, it sounds like. So I hope it was relatively peaceful for him at least. So
yeah, very young guy. I mean, it's I'm telling you, Scott, it's starting to get a little too close to home here, because I'm not knocking on 63's door, but I'm coming around the block.
There you go.
But he's also don't forget to mention that how it ties into this episode.
Right. So as Mike is alluding to, something that is interesting is that Sam Kieth's first published work is in Comico Primer issue number 5. All right, and we're going to be talking about Comico Primer issue 2, but also in some of Matt Wagner's earlier Mage work, Sam Kieth is also the inker on the series. So that really does tie straight into talking about our first 5 for Grendel. Of course, Grendel being created by Matt Wagner. with the character's first 5 appearances. Now, we're actually going to be talking about the character's first, I guess, 11 or 12 appearances because he appears in Comico Primer, issue number 2. Then he has his own volume 1, issues 1, 2, and 3. And then the stories move to backups in issues 7 to 14 of Mage Hero Discovered, also by Matt Wagner, where we have the Devil by the Deed story, which we read as a compilation, I think. So
Yeah.
now the real question, Mike, Comico or Comico? Which way do you pronounce that?
The first time I heard someone say Comico, I thought, what is wrong with them? It's definitely Comico. I mean, it's Comic Company Comico. I don't know. I mean, no offense to all the Comico people out there, but yeah, I don't think that's the right way.
No, that doesn't, it's like, okay, we're in the comic book industry. Why would you have COMI in your name, but not pronounce it comic? That's kind of what
It's not a comic book.
Have you seen the Wheat Thins commercial with Stewie from Family Guy?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, so this.
But
this
I love
is what
Stewie. I love Family Guy. Yeah.
Well, then you need to. So here's the joke, and I apologize for everybody listening to this as I take a side tangent. So the commercial is Stewie saying Wheat Thins. So it's a Wheat Thins commercial, but he doesn't say Wheat Thins. He says Wheat Thins. So you had
Thins. Yes, he's got that.
Thins. So he's got that WH. Yeah. So I think it's what's the dog's name? I've forgotten the dog's name. Brian. Yeah, Brian's going, say wheat. Stewie goes, wheat. Say thins. Thins. Say Wheat Thins. Wheat Thins. So he can't. Yeah. So it's like say comic. Say say comico. So that's all I'm thinking of whenever somebody calls it comico. So anyway,
that's
all
good.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
We should move on though. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. So before we dive into the questions, Mike, is there anything you want to add before we start talking about Grendel?
I just want to kind of put the preface out there that Matt Wagner was 19 years old in 1982 whenever he came up with this character. Okay. I think maybe he actually had it in the back of his mind for a while, but it was actually written and put to paper in 1982 with this Comico Primer, and which was like Primer was like an anthology tryout book, basically, what it really appears to be. So
yeah, I didn't, I've read it in a hardcover, so I bought off of eBay the Grendel Archives, which includes the Primer issue and then the entire volume 1 of Grendel, which was only 3 issues, and then I had to read from the Internet Archive the Devil by the Deed. Story.
Yeah, that's every single one of these I got from the Internet Archive. I could have gotten Devil by the Deed from Hoopla, but I definitely went on the cheap because it was out there and it was easy enough to download and read on panels.
All right. So, Mike, what do you remember when you first became aware of the character Grendel?
Man, in the 80s, I'm sure it's like all my exposure to these, to me, obscure characters was because I was almost all DC and I knew a little bit about Marvel, but these other third-party independent companies was always through probably a fanzine, whether it be Amazing Heroes or Comics Journal. I'd pick up something, a magazine here and there, and you'd see ads for these, and so that I'm sure it was through an ad, because I never read a story until we prepared for this episode.
Well, I'm like you on my first exposure to Grendel. I'm just not sure. That being said, what I did was I went to comicspriceguide.com and pulled up, the issues and just started looking if any of the covers, just triggered a memory for me. So I am certain that the first time that I saw the character Grendel, it was a female version of the character.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and I really do think that the first issue of what would be Volume 2 of Grendel, which again is the is a female version of the character.
Right.
Might be the first time that I saw the character. Because I guess initially I thought the character was female. I didn't realize that as we are going to be reading, that the Hunter Rose version predated the character that I saw. So, that was a little bit, I guess not really a surprise, but I'm just not for sure. But issue 1 of volume 2 was the cover that felt the most familiar.
Yeah.
Now, what's kind of interesting is I only have one issue of Grendel in my actual collection, and that is because when Muddy Monster Comics was closing, Mike Noe was clearing out some of his bargain bin stuff, and I was just kind of flipping through, and Grendel issue number 4 caught my eye for some reason, and I looked down at the signature on the book, and it was inked by Dave Stevens. So needless to say, I grabbed that cover, even though it wasn't penciled by Dave Stevens. I grabbed it just to keep in my, Dave Stevens cover section of my collection. So I have issue 4. Haven't read issue 4, but I own issue 4 of Grendel.
That's
volume 2.
That's a whole topic we should cover sometime, how we sort our comic collection.
Oh, okay. We've actually had some requests for that.
Yeah.
And I don't know because sometimes my sorting is not so great. So
it just depends on the day of the week and what I'm thinking and what whim. Yeah.
Well, I need to sort my collection first before I talk about how it's sorted.
There you go. Okay.
All right.
Now,
so
okay, I want to ask you something. So,
okay,
something I seen in it's on the scans that were on the Internet Archive.
Okay.
The second appearance of Grendel is in a book called Grendel on the Cover, but the indicia says Scrog, Volume 1, Number 1. It's called, and I know Scrog was in some of the ads. It's a story or a character or something in these Comico books, and it's like, I don't know if that was a mistake, because seriously, on the indicia it says Scrog, but on the cover it says Grendel. So anyway, just an oddity. I mean, it clearly is a Grendel book, at least from what I seen the scans were. It was all a Grendel story.
Huh? Yeah, that's because I'm reading. So I don't have the indicia on the hardcover for the archives. It doesn't reprint that any place. So I don't.
It'd be something to ask Matt Wagner when we have him on.
Yeah. So if he wants to pop on and ask
because I'm a big fan of indicia. I'm like, okay, to me that is especially when not to get back to sorting, but if I'm like, what is the official title, I go to the indicia. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. But that doesn't necessarily tie into how you actually sort, right?
No, it does not.
Okay. It does some, but there are just some titles that you just can't sort when, where they would technically be because of what's in the indicia. It's tough. So,
so anyway, Scrog, it's a character I know that I think was in one of the primers. It's just another strip that I think, but anyway.
Okay. So I didn't have the entire primer, so I am that's a total. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Somebody out there's a Grendel aficionado and knows all there is to know. Drop us a line.
Well, I guess so one website that I used just for some reference was this Grendel.es. It's just the Grendel FEQ, and there is no mention of Scrog on SCROG, Scrog?
SKROG.
SKROG. Yeah, there's no mention of Scrog on the page. Now, let me try a wider internet search. The character Scrog is also associated with Grendel, and Scrog number 1 is a notable comic from the series published in 1983. Scrog number 1, Grendel 1, ad. So what is this? Oh, I mean, Scrog is nothing. Okay, Scrog is a completely different character.
Yeah.
So I think it has to be a printing error.
It has to be on
Yeah.
the indicia. Yeah, because
Yes,
when
because
you look,
Comico
there
was
is
a pretty new company, and they probably just hadn't quite got the printing stuff
yeah,
down.
and there is a Scrog #1
Mm-hmm.
that is on eBay for a
Mm-hmm.
whopping $3.33
Yep.
from
And
1983. So
1983. I'm looking at the exact same one. I would say, yeah, 488 shipping. So
yeah,
yeah. So I guess you could maybe do the comparison if you want to buy that book, Mike, and report back. That'll be your assignment.
I'd rather not. I've already bought
Yeah.
a mage just to say I have one of the appearances of him in the original book, of Grendel in the original book. Yeah, didn't need to do it, but I did.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get that. So at least I've got that one random Grendel issue, so I can at least have one issue
There
of
you
Grendel
go.
in my
Yeah.
collection. So all right, so I'll let you go first on this one. What are your initial thoughts on the original version of the character?
Well, you know what? I'm going to back up. I want to back up to the first question about what was
Okay.
the introduction. I'm thinking now maybe it was Batman and Grendel crossover
Mm-hmm.
that was in the 90s.
Yep.
I didn't read it, but I remember seeing it. But either way, I had both notes down. I want to mention that it could have been that. But as far as my original thoughts, he's okay. So Grendel's, at least the Hunter Rose version, is an anti-hero.
Mm-hmm.
He's a mercenary. He's using he's using all of his brain. He's an extraordinary character, but I'm not a big anti-hero fan, and I'm not even sure if Grendel meets that bar because he was just a straight up killer. He just had
I
some,
saw I
yeah.
saw something where he was chosen one year as the 88th best villain in comic books.
Well, there you go. Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
so really he's not even technically an anti-hero,
yeah.
and that's what
But
we'll
he
just talk
has
about.
some.
He has some heroic qualities,
Yeah,
but he's
yeah.
a crime lord. He's a crime lord.
He is. Yeah, but I mean, he used the excuse that he was trying to tamp out crime by taking over the crime families, but I think he was enriching himself anyway. The only characteristic that kind of made him more human and redeemable was that his affinity for young Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
So otherwise, he didn't have much in the way of scruples, and yeah. So that was my original thought reading this character for the first time.
Yeah, there's also Grendel has several crossovers, including the Batman Grendel that you mentioned. There's actually like two issue series for that.
Hmm.
There's a crossover with the Shadow.
Oh,
So
really?
it's Grendel versus the Shadow from Dynamite in 2014.
Ooh, I like the shadow.
Yeah, so the crossover thing, there's several of those. So okay, so for me going into the story, right, when we're talking about the original version of the character, I really just thought Grendel was a generic martial artist hero from the 80s, just happened to use a staff as the weapon. Didn't
Hmm.
even know that the staff was electrified, right? So I wasn't aware of
Hmm.
that going in. So instead, we have this Hunter Rose, as you've alluded to already, that has a lot of these questionable motives for his behavior. All right, is in fact a crime lord, and it's not quite what I was expecting, and also because of the fact that I was thinking initially Grendel was a female character, not a male character.
Yeah.
So that also was kind of I guess by the time we actually sat down to read this, I recognized that Grendel was male, but since my first exposure to the character was as a female, that is at some point there's like, oh, there's either multiple versions of this character. I wasn't aware at the time, that was the case. So
Yeah. And I'm trying to think, there was a character that we reviewed recently that basically had several iterations. Like,
well,
oh,
Swamp Thing technically, because you had
yeah, but
the pre Alec Holland,
it wasn't
Alec.
him though. It was something
Oh,
something else we
okay.
talked about. I don't know. I'll think of it. But that's what this reminded me of, is that it's Grendel is almost a title,
Hmm.
and an inheritance somehow, and not necessarily just one person. So I think I made the note somewhere. We'll get to it.
Well, I was Grimjack, Black Panther, Jonah Hex. I'm just kind of going through some of our more recent first fives here and seeing if any of them, the Tomb of
Yeah.
Dracula, Loki. So Judge Dredd.
I don't
Elongated
know.
Man. Yeah, I don't know. So, all right. So, how much do we learn about this character's origin from these first 5 issues, Mike?
Uh, Not too much. Only that his birth name was Eddie, and he was a prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he was able to use much more of his brain's capacity than others, a la Deathstroke, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Um, he had nearly total recall. I think I remember
Yeah.
reading.
I put
Uh,
down like photographic memory in my notes as far as like power set when we get to the power
yeah.
set portion. But yeah, I think what you're describing is probably more accurate.
I mean, yeah, it really wasn't his origin as much as it was his what happened later in life. I mean, he did, you know, he didn't like group sports or team sports. He liked wrestling and really liked
Fencing.
fencing,
Yeah.
which led him to meeting Jocasta Rose, which I think that's where he got the name Hunter from. He
Mm-hmm.
adopted a pseudonym, and they had a romantic relationship. And she dies, and he takes on uh, the name Hunter Rose as his civilian identity, and became a novelist and socialite and all that, and then also his costumed identity as Grendel.
So
Costume,
what I'm going to do for the origin is call bait and switch, right?
yeah.
So I mean, I feel like we do get the origin of Hunter Rose in this story, right? However, we don't actually get the origin for Grendel
Mm-hmm.
because we learn much later that Grendel is not exclusively Hunter Rose and that the Grendel persona is passed on from person to person over extended time periods.
Yeah.
So I do feel like we got Hunter Rose's origin, but not Grendel. And we kind of we technically see almost Hunter Rose's complete life when we talk about the issues between Primer 2 and Hero Discovered 14. We basically get his entire lifespan because what happens in Devil by the Deed is Hunter Rose is killed, right, as
Right.
part of that battle
Yep.
with Argent.
Yep.
So again, I'm calling bait and switch because you would think if you didn't know what happens with Grendel later on, that that's the origin of
Mm-hmm.
Grendel. He's Hunter Rose and he becomes such and such, but that's not actually the case.
Right.
So,
That's true.
all right, power set. I think we've kind of hinted on this a little bit. You've already mentioned the fencing and the intelligence level. I put down photographic type of memory, but I think you're right. Total recall type of memory would be a better name for that. Did you have anything else down for powers?
I mean that the
The
staff,
staff.
which is like actually a fork, a double bladed. I think it's kind of like a fork
Yeah, it's got like a
style.
sharp, like
Yeah.
just at the end. And that's
Yeah.
probably something to do for like the electricity for it to be able to pass between the 2 points.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So it's retractable. It's electrified.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. It extends his reach, which is
Hmm.
like the foil, which is in fencing.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's his only weapon
Yeah.
that it kind of exemplifies though the style of this character. He's very much about the finesse.
Hmm.
He's not a bullish, you know, just overpowering enemy. He's very precise.
Yeah, I almost feel like this character would have been better served if he had been like a thief as opposed to a crime
Sure.
lord.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost think it would make more sense for the character.
Yeah.
But this is what we got. We got the crime lord. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes you wonder what Matt Wagner would have done differently if he'd decided to publish the original version in his 30s instead of in his
Mhm.
20s.
Well, I mean, whenever in this Grendel archives, um, there's a foreword by Matt Wagner, and basically, because it had been so long since this had been published, it had been out of print for a very, very long time,
Hmm.
and it's almost like he was embarrassed by these books, and I can see that a little bit. to be honest.
Yeah.
Some things that we'll talk about here, maybe in the next question. So,
Yeah.
or 2 questions from now. So, all right. So, how close? I mean, again, this is something else that we've talked about a little bit already. But how closely does this version of the character match what we see in comics today? What do you feel is the same? What do you feel is different?
I mean, okay, so I don't know firsthand about today's characters, but I can tell you that just researching that they're just completely different people. It's an inheritance thing. You got um, in the original storyline, you got Hunter Rose / Eddie, and when he died, and he died at the end of this storyline,
Mm-hmm.
and it also, just to remind, or just so people understand, the first several appearances were basically rewritten and captured in that Devil by the Deed
Mm-hmm.
sort of narrative version, a picture book version. So it's basically tells the whole story, just sort of enhances the story a bit, gives more details because it came out a few years later, which is a good way. If you're Matt Wagner, you're like, man, I wish I would have included a little bit more detail or
Mm-hmm.
nuance to the original story, but I was 20 and I didn't think about that. It was a good way for him to do that, but otherwise, it's just new people taking over the character or taking over the persona, like you said.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I mean, really, at issue 3 of the volume 1, it
Hmm.
ends, and there is
Yeah,
no issue 4. I assume because either sales weren't where they needed to be or something
right,
along that lines. So you don't know that Hunter Rose dies in that as a result of a battle with Argent.
right.
So it's like you very I almost feel it's a little sudden. It's like, oh, they're fighting and da 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 da, and then,
Yeah.
oh, here's this Devil by the Deed backup stories, and, oh, our main character is dead.
Yeah, yeah.
The title character is dead. So,
I mean, seriously, if people just wanted to read one thing, I would just recommend The Devil by the Deed. I mean, it's the original stories. The art is still pretty amateurish, I guess you could say. Not, I mean, Matt Wagner's Matt Wagner.
right.
He's stellar. He's one of the best. I used to love seeing his Green Arrow covers, but it was, you just people evolve over time with their style
Mm-hmm.
and they get better. So, but if you want to read that, get the spend the time, just read Devil by the Deed, and you'll get the whole thing, and you can get it. You can get the whole. You can get it online, easy, free.
Yeah. I think if you just another way is, if I remember right, on Amazon, if you the first volume of the omnibus, like basically the Devil by Deed is like the preview to what's in
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the omnibus. You can always read
Oh
the
yeah,
entire thing
right,
right
yeah,
there
yeah,
in preview. So,
yeah, yeah.
all right. So, moments in the first 5 issues that you would like to call any attention to.
Uh, well, I mean, I guess I just said what I was going to say about how that it weren't individual moments, but I will. That's really it goes into my favorite of the first five. So,
Okay, well, okay. So
yeah,
let me pull up mine, and then if you want
yeah,
to add
okay,
on to
all
this.
right,
So,
okay,
all right, I'm not gonna lie, a little creeped out by these first few issues. All right, I don't know
yeah,
what. So apparently,
yes,
Matt Wagner has some fixation with child sexual abuse from some shape, form,
hmm
or fashion, and it weirded me out just a little bit. Okay, so we know that Hunter Rose, right? Whenever he takes over these crime families, right? He kills whoever he keeps everything going unless child prostitution is involved, and then he nixes the child prostitution. So there's this big discussion about, oh, we got rid of the child prostitution. We're still doing murder and theft and all the other stuff, but no child prostitution.
yeah,
All right. Second, Hunter Rose is 14 years old when he gets seduced by Jocasta Rose.
yes,
Right? She's 32.
yes,
Okay. Now, they have an immediate sexual encounter. Okay. And we have Matt Wagner drawing Hunter Rose's naughty bits, assumingly as a
hmm
14-year-old inside of the book. Okay.
hmm
So, yeah,
I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah,
a little creepy there. Okay. And
yep,
then to top it off in Devil by the Deed, all right, uh, and I forgot the young girl's name. Stacy. Is it
Stacy
Stacy?
was the
Yeah. So Stacy was a girl.
his
He
sort
kind
of
of
ward that he adopted or took over because her uncle
uncle. Mm-hmm.
was murdered and
Yeah.
was somewhat of an associate
Yeah.
of Grendel, I guess, but he was also a bad guy.
A
So
bad guy. So
yeah,
another bad guy that Hunter Rose once did. But okay, so she's like 12 to 14 whenever Hunter Rose adopts her.
at
Well,
most,
he's only like 18
yeah,
at this point, adopting a child 12 to 14. And then to top it all off, of course, Hunter Rose dies. Okay, so then when Stacy marries later on, she is raped on her wedding night. So, and that's in Devil by the Deed, that part of the story.
yeah,
So, I uh, that was just all of that was just really, really kind of weirded me out just a little bit as far as these stories. Now, I assume it's the 80s, right? So he's trying to be edgy. So that was where his edge went. But yeah, I didn't care too much for that part, those parts of the story.
it does not sit well at all. I mean, I don't know if I would have caught that as much in the early '80s reading it, but I'm still. I mean, it's I don't know. It's just was very you definitely got weird vibes when
Mm-hmm.
you seen that he's just I don't like to use the word infatuation, but it's almost like he was really smitten with this young Stacy, and even
Mm-hmm.
if it was like platonic, it just didn't seem right. He shouldn't have been able to adopt her or
No,
take
at
her in
that
as
age,
a
yeah.
guard her guardian at that point. It just really yeah, I'd had the same exact. I guarantee other people had to have.
Yeah, and there was something alluded to in Devil by the Deed about the age, and I unfortunately I don't remember exactly where it was. But what's also kind of funny, well, funny's not the right word, but this is another moment, as far as stories, is that Stacy, okay, Palumbo, okay,
Hmm.
is actually the one who is responsible for the fight, the ultimate fight between Argent and Grendel that results in Grendel's death or
Yes.
Hunter Rose's death.
Yep.
So
So
it's
yeah,
because she learns that Hunter Rose is not necessarily a good guy.
yeah. Which I think that's why I put all this under my favorite of the first five,
Hmm.
because it all kind of ties together. But
Hmm.
if I'm just going to comment on certain story points that I remember, it felt like the end of the story was rushed. It was like this okay, it went from within pages, it went small number of pages, went from the death match between Grendel and Argent,
Hmm.
Stacy's discovery of Grendel's activities and murder of her nanny. So
Hmm.
she murdered her nanny. So Grendel
Nanny.
was a,
Hmm.
a bad influence on her. And to her commitment to an institution for 11 years for killing
Hmm.
the nanny, then committed, did the old Harley Quinn trick, and her psychiatrist marries her. They
Hmm.
get married, and then on their wedding night, he
Yeah.
rapes her and commits suicide. Well,
Yeah.
what the hell are you talking about? What is going on? This is like 6 issues of
Yeah.
story packed into
It's
4 pages.
it's
Yes.
so I don't know. Is contrived the right word that
Yeah,
I'm using there?
probably. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just, oh my gosh, it was just kind of a mess.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, all that hit me like a brick.
Yeah.
And then finally the reveal of who the narrator has been of the whole Devil by the Deed story. It was Stacy's daughter, Christine Spar. So she, um, you know, you know, I guess
Who becomes,
yes, she had the rape. So she's
the
the
product of
the
the
product.
rape,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So
Product's not the right
the
word, but
prodigy or whatever, the
yeah.
result of the rape of the husband. Why would he? I don't even get it. That just like all of it is just so many questions. that I don't even really want to know the answer to. But
Okay,
so yeah,
I gotta tell on myself. I totally missed that about Christine Spar. Because it's on this about the author page.
yeah.
Okay, not gonna lie. Guess who thought that was like? I thought they contributed in some shape, form, or fashion to this story as an actual person.
Oh,
Because I kept thinking, man, I thought Matt Wagner's like everything says Matt Wagner did this. This person's not listed on the credits for this book, but they have an about the author page. I don't get that. I feel so stupid. I
you were
really,
just that
really
drawn
feel.
in. You were just that
I
drawn
really
in.
feel that dumb. So it didn't click
Shoot.
because it's not. It's literally at the end. The
Well, it's
story's
all jammed
over.
in. It's all jammed in. You
Yeah.
could read. Yeah, I don't even.
And it's like it was the back. It says the end, and then it's like it's the back of the book. And when you're looking at this, not in a printed format, but in a digital format, you don't. That's something that's very easy to miss.
Yeah.
I feel so dumb right
Well,
now. So.
don't feel bad because I actually thought I was predicting that Stacy was going to be the new Grendel, not
Hmm.
not her daughter
Her
Christine.
daughter, right?
I was like, at some point, I'm like, oh, guaranteed Stacy's going to be the new Grendel.
But they would
But
have had
then,
to have backtracked, to pre-suicide, right, to actually
yeah,
tell that story.
hmm
So,
yeah,
anyway. Now, I do want to mention that. Okay, so the primer issues and the first three Grendels are all in black and white. We
all
do
right,
get color added to the Devil by the Deed. You start to see a dramatic improvement in Matt Wagner's art, I think,
hmm
in Devil by the Deed. It's still not to a standard that's like, oh, I really, really like this art, but it gets a little better. Now, that being said, it's almost, other than the fact that it's drawn, right? It's almost like when people take photographs and then
hmm
put the word balloons on the photographs because the art is to me, very static.
hmm
And as you mentioned, we miss whole chunks of the sequential storytelling. The
yeah.
storytelling is all in the prose, and the art is just like posed images that some and maybe relate to the prose by having the characters that are mentioned.
Yeah, I wish I could go back and figure out whether I would get the full story or get the enjoyment of reading just Devil by the Deed without all of the sequential art, if it would have worked without having already read the other stuff and know that this is a retelling of it. So, independent of one another, I'm not sure that they would have worked.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
don't know either, but that's the thing about reading the first five, and theoretically, okay, I guess you could say that since they aren't publishing that in its own book anymore, anybody who's reading that in Mage, if they got like, oh, I'll read two more pages of this random character,
yeah,
and then maybe they're just hoping that it attracted enough attention, and apparently it did, because that wasn't the end of the character.
yeah,
I mean, really, the character could have been done after issue 3, but Matt Wagner decided to include that in. It's like, oh, I still have these stories I want to tell, so let's stick that in the end of another book and see if we can get some traction that way. So, all right. So, Mike, you said you had the favorite issue that you wanted to talk about. So, why don't you give us that?
Well, it was issue Grendel number 2, which featured, this is like the third of the appearances, and it featured the origin of Argent,
Mm-hmm.
also known as the Wondrous Wolf, and as well as introduced almost all of the important characters in one issue, like Barry Palumbo, that was Stacy's
Stacy's
uncle,
uncle. Mm-hmm.
Stacy herself, Larry Stoller, which is an interesting character. He's a complete socialite gossip, but because of his ability to get the skinny on things, he becomes Grendel's assistant
Mm-hmm.
and gets information for him. And it's also the start of a murder mystery. It finishes in I think
Mm-hmm.
the next issue, but that
Yep.
murder mystery of it's
Who
spoilers,
killed the
Barry,
uncle?
yeah,
Yeah.
who killed the uncle.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed issue 2 the most.
I There are none of these issues that I feel are particularly outstanding. So I'm just going to preface it at that. All right. Now, so to me, it's a choice between, do you want the Devil by the Deed just because of the art and the fact that you get a complete story? I mean, you really could just read Devil by the Deed and know everything that happens in the other first 4 issues, all the key points.
Yeah.
But you're right in the issue number 2 being, interesting because we bring in a lot of these characters, and honestly, in the little that we get, Argent is the most interesting character, I think, out of all of these characters.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Because
he
got
was
this history,
a 300-year-old Algonquin
medicine
Indian
shaman, right?
Yeah, and not afraid of killing, but also seems to be more on the side of the light.
Mm-hmm.
Because he actually works with the police.
Yep. And it's kind of like he goes in and out of favor with the police as you're reading through. He
Right.
gets set up. The police are out to get him. The truth comes to light. There he's working with the police.
There was kind of a funny, I don't want to say it's funny, but I was embarrassed for him whenever he's trying to do police work and he's, surveilling the big dance or the ballroom or whatever, and he's in the skylight, and while he's watching it breaks and he falls down and fumbles or foibles the whole thing. And I always thought that when I read that, I thought that probably could happen with a lot of Batman stories. Batman or Robin or somebody doing that.
Well, that was a setup by Grendel, by Hunter Rose, that caused that to happen.
Okay, yeah.
So I think someplace in there it basically says that
I must have missed that part.
Yeah, here it is. The gadgetry consisted of a holographic projector and some apparatus that had been used to eject a gland-scented spray, all of which had been connected to an auto-triggered ignition. Grendel had struck his blow, so that was part of the whole thing. He knew where Argent was going to come in, and you have the skylight.
And it shows, Stacy was also sort of friendly with Argent.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, shows you kind of like she was really pretty shallow. She's like, kind of like cut him off from their friendship because he screwed up. I don't know, just seemed odd too.
So she just goes completely off the deep end. So like really, and that's going to be the theme for this episode for me tonight. It's like, who are you rooting for in these stories?
Right.
And when we get into the Vertigo stuff, it's going to be kind of the same theme for me. So, you have these, 80s dark stories and newer stories, but you've still got to have a point of view character that you can kind of get behind.
Root for. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just not finding it here inside of Grendel at this point. So, all right, big question. Do you plan to seek out more stories with this character?
Well, only if they kind of jump out at me would I buy one, so probably not. I mean, if I'm at a shop and I'm going through some cheap bins and I see a later iteration of Grendel for 50 cents or $1, I might say just out of curiosity, but definitely not necessarily my kind of character. Again, sometimes, though, it's interesting to see how characters can evolve over time. Under different publishers, different combinations of creators, all that.
But moving forward, I mean, it's still going to be Matt Wagner stories most of the time.
Yeah.
And anything that we see from this point on, at least assuming that Grendel.es website is correct, it is going to be written by Matt Wagner. There's not going to be him turning that character over to anybody
and Matt
else.
Wagner became one of my favorite creators. I really remember a Dr. Midnight miniseries that he did, and I met him at C2E2, I want to say in 2018, but I guess maybe I'm backtracking, maybe I won't seek it out, but if anything jumps out in front of me, I probably would get it.
Well, this is weird for me to say, because you know what my general answer is to this question is, if I hear there's a really good story, then I'll pick it up, but otherwise, no. But I actually do plan to try to read some more Grendel.
Okay.
And this is primarily because a couple of years ago in Evansville, Indiana, they had a museum. They had a comic show at this museum. And for a couple of years, they had John K. Snyder there as a guest. And later in the Grendel run, John K. Snyder is the artist. So I was sitting in on a panel where they were talking about it, and he started talking about his time on Grendel and how the character was, um, not a single person, but it was in fact an entity, right? That different over different time periods, and I thought, well, that changed my view of the character right there, even before we had read these books. Now, if I had read these books before I heard him say that, I think it would be the exact opposite. That I was like, started talking about Grendel, and I would have tuned it out because
Yeah.
I just like, oh, I've read that stuff. That's garbage. But I don't know. I'm probably going to try to find something. I don't know if I'm going to go straight to the John K. Steiner stuff or if I want to pick up that volume 2 where we get that female Grendel that I kind of remember from whenever I was buying books in the 80s. So that's kind of the question for me. But the John K. Snyder stuff is part of that run. So I don't know. I'm going to read something. I don't know what it's going to be. I may use that Grendel.es, just kind of, check out some of the various, quick synopsis of what's going on and then decide what to do there. So.
Well, if I actually looked at my collection in CLZ to see if I had that Batman Grendel story, and I don't. I thought maybe I had, but I didn't. So.
Okay. Well, like I said, there's 4 issues. FYI, I got 2 of the 4. So.
Okay. All right.
just FYI. All right. You got any final thoughts on Grendel?
No. It's honestly, it's an interesting character, but not necessarily of my taste. I don't know. I'm very torn on this because now I feel a little bit invested in looking into everything. I'm gonna give it credit for what it was. It was a creation very early in the career of a lifelong comic creator, writer artist Matt Wagner, and it was pretty darn good for someone at that age.
My take is that for it to have stuck around, the character to stuck around for as long as the character has, there has to be something to it. I don't think we see the substance of the character in these issues, so I'm hopeful that we see what this character is really about later. And I just have to hope that if it is a good character that I'm going to enjoy, that I pick the right starting point to start reading it.
Right.
Because based on these books, no. It's not of interest to me at all. So. All right. Okay. Well, as we mentioned in one of our pre-orders episodes, whenever they announced the relaunch of Vertigo at DC, there were 4 titles that were coming out. Of course, one of them was just a continuation of Nice House on the Ocean?
By the Sea.
By the Sea, okay. Lake, then Sea. Nice House by the Sea. But there were, I'm going to say, 2.5 new books. because we have Bleeding Hearts, we have End of Life, and then we have The Peril of the Brutal Dark and Ezra Kane Mystery. And the reason why I say 2.5 is because I think we have some Ezra Kane stories that predate this story. So sort of new, but
yeah,
it's so that's why I say 2.5 new books.
They may have cheated a bit, but still. Okay, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, we get so I don't know, which one do you want to talk about first, Mike? I have down my order is just Peril the Brutal Dark, Bleeding Hearts, and then End of Life. But I think that's probably the reverse order of when they came out.
Yeah, I was looking on Peril of the Brutal Dark is the most recent release because I couldn't get it on the DC app.
Right. Okay.
So when I was doing my read, I had to use my original copy. It doesn't matter to me. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with End of Life. Let's go End of Life, Bleeding Hearts.
Oh, that's just how I had it written up on my notes.
All right. Well, I just must have picked that out. Yeah. So all right. So End of Life. Written by Kyle Starks, art by Steve Pugh. So we've got Eddie Stallion as a hired gun. When Eddie is part of a crew that steals from the wrong person, another member of the menagerie, he is forced on the run to the last place he thinks that people will look for him, his father's house. But it turns out his father may not be as welcoming as Eddie hopes. So there you go. Quick synopsis for the first issue.
Yep.
What is your initial take on End of Life, Mike?
I'm just going to first say I had to read all three of these books twice to get at least a modicum of appreciation for them. It started out very, and maybe you know how it is. If you're not sometimes in the right frame of mind to read a book, it just doesn't sit well. So I reread them over the last couple of days, and I have a much higher appreciation. So starting with End of Life, I'll say that I if you gave me like five guesses, I could have guessed that Kyle Stark was the writer. If you gave me,
Yeah,
it's his sharp
his style.
humor, his style, his dialogue, over the top violence, a la Tarantino movie, or maybe the Kingsman movies. You know, um, I thought Steve Pugh's art really kicked butt. I couldn't even remember. I knew his name, but I couldn't where have I seen him? But I looked up. I have that Flintstones comic that Mark Russell did. He was the artist on it. So it's very irreverent. Again, and it was above average enjoyable, I will say. Some of it's, I mean, when you think about it, come on, Eddie Stallion. I mean, it's just, but it's very comic booky that way too, right? So it's I don't think it's meant to have the same feel as say the Ezra Kane book. This is comic book fun, and yeah. So I'm not grading it now, am I? No.
No, you can. I mean, but no, you don't have
Yeah.
to.
Okay. I'll wait.
All right. So, and I mentioned this as my theme for the episode. There's nobody to root for in this book. The main character is a total douchebag. And
you nailed it right there with that, and
yeah,
that's what didn't sit well with me. But go ahead.
yeah. So now, like you said, the art is really, really good, but it's just kind of this over the top, and that's part of what Kyle Starks writes is like a lot of times these over the top characters.
Yeah.
But in books like Where Monsters Lie, right?
Hmm.
You can kind of get behind somebody.
Hmm.
And in this particular book, I couldn't get behind any of the characters that we meet in the first issue. You
No,
know,
I mean,
I just so it was, yeah, it was just a tough read, and I hate to say that. I don't plan to pick up the second issue. Uh, now I've got all five issues of another Kyle Starks book, Wrestle Heist, just waiting to read. Over here in my to read pile, but I'm done already with End of Life, even after the first issue, which
hmm
is unfortunate to say. But I think it's just because you gotta have a character that you can root for, and
yeah,
it's kind of the same problem I have with Deadpool.
right.
It's just not for me, and
You've
this
said that's
Eddie
been
Stallion is not for me.
you are not making this up because as long as I've been knowing you and recording with you, any story that lacks that anchor character that you can root for,
Hmm.
I think honestly, I think what I going back to no, maybe that wasn't it. Either way, I just know that's you're right. You're consistent with that.
Hmm.
And I would have to agree. I mean, you got bad guy versus bad guy. No matter
Hmm.
if it's Eddie versus the menagerie with their animal heads,
Hmm.
and or Eddie and his dad, who is also an old, a
Old.
retired.
Hmm.
I mean, if anybody, maybe next issue we'll get to know a little bit more about Sophie, his old
Yes.
girlfriend or childhood friend or whatever, who's now his dad's hospice nurse.
Hmm.
Maybe she could be someone you can root for, but I don't know. Something tells me Eddie's the best we're gonna get because he's gonna be the central figure. But
Yeah, so
yeah,
so I would be reading this story if I were to continue. Be like, okay, I hope that this character, which Sophie, right, has an impact on Eddie, and maybe makes him into a better person. So could that be where this story goes? Maybe, but
yeah,
I'm gonna have to find out down the road that that's actually what
yeah.
happened before I would revisit this
Well,
book.
I'm subscribed. I'm sure I'll get a few issues before I have to like bail on it if I do, which I probably will. But now I'm thinking about the title, End of Life. So maybe that has something to do with his dad's terminal illness,
Yeah.
and maybe there's something redemptive
Hmm.
that occurs
Hmm.
that allows the reader to become more supportive of Eddie. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I don't
I
know.
don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it for you to tell me if it gets better,
Okay.
since you said you're already locked in. I'm not locked in. I didn't order the second issue, so hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully you can tell me if that was a mistake on my part.
Okay.
So, do we want to grade these individually, or do we want to
Let's rank them.
rank them
I'm.
when we get done?
Let's rank them when we get done.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
That's better because yeah, you could
It's
probably
easier to
guess
think.
which one. Even after the first one, you could probably guess which one of these books is going to be my low one. All right. So second on the list, we have Bleeding Hearts by Mike Atchison's newest favorite writer, Dennis
He is
Camp,
good. Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
art by Stepan Marian. I'm probably butchering that name. So the zombies have taken over. But what if we view the world from the perspective of the walkers this time? And what if one of the walkers, Poke, doesn't want to eat the living anymore? So there you go. That is Bleeding Hearts from Dennis Camp. All right. What is your initial thoughts on Bleeding Hearts?
Okay. My first initial thoughts were, oh no, not a zombie. I don't really like zombie stuff.
Yep.
It always seemed kind of stupid. But then again, I never read Walking Dead, and there had to be something good about that to be as popular as it was. But
Just because it's popular doesn't make it good.
well, very very true, very true. But it once I got through, again, it took me two reads to okay. I don't need to know what a heart tastes like, what the best parts of a heart is that you just ripped from a living body, and the
Hmm.
zombies are just eating it away. So I got past that, but then I started going, but to myself, Marian's Stephen Marian's style, it reminded me
Hmm.
sort of a Mad Magazine sort of sketch. Very, exaggerated
Hmm.
figures, and I thought that was appropriate for the story. And then I got to thinking about the premise. Well, that's not bad either.
No.
And then I'm looking at the lettering. And I'm like, the lettering's really appropriate for this kind of story. So once I put aside them eating human body parts, I started appreciating some of the redeeming qualities. So a moment that I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. Um, so you've got the horde. That's the group of zombies that they wander around. People can join, people can leave, come and go as they please. I mean, they just kind of shamble from one place to the other looking for fresh meat, so to
Hmm.
speak. Their societal structure mimics humans, so it made me think of Lord of the Flies,
Right.
where the 12-year-olds get you stranded on an island and they kind of establish a society of a sort. But then when in the names, I got to give Dennis Camp. I mean, these are great because
Yeah.
it's not, uh, what's his name, Hole or Poke,
Mush.
Poke,
Oh yeah,
Poke,
Poke. Poke.
Poke.
Yeah,
His
Poke is
full
one and
name
Mush is
is
the other.
yeah. Poke's full name is Mouse pokes golf ball through hole in head.
Yeah.
So and then Mush is something about mushrooms growing on him.
Mushrooms grow up all over like little forests.
Yeah. So I got a kick out of that. That was inventive. And then okay, so there's one little part where Mush and Poke are as buddies as zombies can be,
Hmm.
and they have another zombie that comes up who's called literally finds whole family in basement and eats them himself over course of a week.
Yeah.
And so this zombie becomes ostracized because the one thing you don't do is not share with the
Not
rest of
share.
the horde. You got a whole family to eat. So I
Hmm.
got a kick out of that. And then when Poke finds a dead woman and her baby in the grocery store ice cream freezer and
Hmm.
he shed a tear, I
Hmm.
thought, okay. And then I seen the way Poke and Mush exchanged when they were telling a story about after Poke saved Mush from the fire, which is
Hmm.
one thing they can really do in a zombie. They in a represent to represent their friendship, they exchanged arms. They
Yeah.
just attached. So, and I was wondering, yeah, why one arm was bigger than the other for Poke. But so I kind of turned the corner on this. I really did. It's I don't know. I'm still not a big zombie person, but this is a way different take, and I'm much more inclined to keep buying this than End of
End of
Life.
life.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna just basically mirror most of what you said, but again, it's hard to root for zombies that are eating people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So um, now clearly you've got Poke, the main character, who's resistant to eating. It's like he eats the stuff that Mush gives him that he kind of feels forced to. Otherwise, he's going to be outed as not being the
Well,
good
we haven't even
zombie.
mentioned that. Did we mention that the reason why he's not full-fledged zombie right now? That his heart
uh,
started beating?
okay, is yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that. So that there's a movie that happened in.
Oh,
Not too, or there's a movie where like it's a, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's like a zombie develops a crush on a person,
okay.
right? So Cold
Okay.
Heart.
All right.
So and like the heart starts, something's happening. It's like so his heart's warming because of this girl.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so there's a little bit of that in this. So now I guess once again it's like yeah, it was really they don't make it like super clear that it's his heart that is beating. It's just like okay, so he opens up. You have one scene where it's like, and it's so
Zoomed in.
zoomed in. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's a zipper. Is he opening up a bag? Oh, it's his chest
Mm-hmm.
that he's actually opening up, not just something that he was carrying. So that was,
Yeah.
I would have liked for them to have done that over several panels
Yeah.
to make that a little bit clear. But no, he opens up full page, and then it's like he's just covering stuff up the rest of the issue.
Yeah.
So, but we do have that turning point at the end of the issue where they encounter some living people, and it's like, okay, so Poke has to make that decision. Is he going to yell that he's found some fresh meat, right? Or is he going to be quiet about it? Or are these two going to become his companions moving forward in the story? That we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there you go.
Yeah. I. Yeah. I mean, really, it's like despite myself, I'm enjoying this.
Yeah. I definitely feel like there's a chance that there's a character here that we can kind of get behind, but technically for this issue, no. It's like I'm not going to be rooting for the zombies eating people.
No, no, no. I mean,
Yeah.
there were
So.
humans that were. I mean, he mentions Poke says towards the end of this story, he says, he's afraid to say too much even to his friend
Mhm.
Mush, but he's like, Mush, are we evil? Because it's like the Garden of Eden. It's like he's realizing he's got all of a sudden he's taking a bite from the fruit of the tree of knowledge, and he's
Mhm.
starting to realize, wow, are we evil?
Yeah.
And
Are we the bad guys?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, that to me is a bit of a hook.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. All right. Any final thoughts on Bleeding Hearts?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so. I'm
It is my favorite art of the three.
yeah,
I mean the Steve Hugh art in End of Life is really really good, but the art that I enjoyed looking at the most was the Bleeding Hearts
yeah,
art. So just throwing that out there.
yep.
Okay, last one here. So this is the longest title, Peril of the Brutal Dark, an Ezra Kane mystery. right?
It took me
Written by
forever to remember what the heck the title was when I'm trying to find it on
yeah,
the
trying
app.
to find it. Yeah.
It's like, is it the dread of the brutal dark, or is the brutal? Yeah, I was getting it all mixed up.
Written by Chris Condon, art by Jacob Phillips. So we got another Phillips doing the art here.
Yep.
So and Chris Condon, of course, wrote like that Texas Blood, and
The
then
infield. Yep.
yeah, and there's a new book that's coming out that the artwork's going to be by Charlie Adler of the oh gosh
Oh yeah.
yeah. So anyway, he's got a new book coming out that we previewed in the March episode. I could find it if I needed to, but just search for of the Adler and you'll probably find it. So it's 1913. The anvil of Hephaestus is discovered in Greece, but there may be a curse associated with whoever finds it or on whoever finds it. Fast forward to 1941, where Ezra Kane, a private eye and gun for hire, is called in to investigate the theft of one anvil.
It's got to be hard to steal an anvil. They're pretty heavy.
I mean, it's. I guess you got to be strong, or but it is the mystery, right? So,
Right.
all right. So, what do you got here on Peril the Brutal Dark and Ezra Kane mystery?
Uh, Again, I read it twice. The first time, it was like okay, and now I really enjoyed the second read. The pacing to me was perfect. It's very good stuff. It's got classic pulp noir, and honestly, Sean Phillips' son Jacob is, he's only in his 20s, I think, and he's really carrying on the family legacy spectacularly. I'm impressed. So Condon, I knew him from the Enfield Gang Massacre, which was an historical take on, or a story, a fictional take on an actual historical event. I don't know if I should. That's even correct, but anyway, it's based on a real event.
Okay.
And I like the way he paced it in that he gives us what we need to know about Ezra Kane. By dropping us right into one of Kane's current jobs, and that's to get back this briefcase or whatever. Which you don't know that for all we know, that's what the story's about. But no, that's just show us this is what this guy is. It's what he can do. This is in 1941. This is decades after the Anvil of Hephaestus. Oh, I can't even say Hephaestus. Yeah, the blacksmith god of the Greek god.
There
so
you go.
it's 1941, so it's the dialogue I think Condon has down pat for the era. The narration style through is done well through the dialogue. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this the most of the three, and feel like it's got more legs and could go on to be a serialized type book where you just have one mystery after another. Okay. So yeah.
So I guess this is the first Ezra Kane book.
Yes, I thought this was like I had to look. I thought it was some novels or something.
Okay, so I was under the assumption that this was just another Ezra Kane mystery, but I thought, I kept calling this 2.5 books, so I jumped over on comicspriceguide.com and searched for Ezra Kane, and The Peril of the Brutal Dark and Ezra Kane Mystery is the only Ezra Kane that is listed on Comics Price Guide.
But you're partly right, Scott. No, you're partly right that there was a little bit of a cheat here.
Okay.
I don't want to say cheat because that sounds unfair to them, but what happened was in 2020 during COVID, and things couldn't get picked up for publishing. Condon and Phillips whipped up this book, and it was called differently. It was called Brutal Dark, Ezra Kane. It was a different title than what we are reading now. So this has been around in a different form, and they basically were releasing these digitally, but you had to become Patreons of both creators to read these little 8-page story parts, and I don't know how many came out before they petered out, but because they moved on to other projects. So I think this was started out and it was going a different direction, or at least was formulated differently, and now they're getting a chance to tell the whole story as one.
Okay. All right. Well, that's okay. So I guess that's good. That
Yeah, but
is
you
so.
just,
I
I
guess we
just
do actually get 3 new books instead of 2.5, like I implied. So.
well, but then again, also it was they already had much of this done 5, 6 years ago. They
Okay.
had the
All right.
general, I think, plot done, and a lot of the story. I mean, I don't know how much of the art, because you had to buy these little noir adventures
Mm-hmm.
um, digitally in monthly installments, 8 pages a shot, but you had to be a Patreon. So I thought that was
Okay.
kind of interesting. I was just trying to figure out where I thought it, because I was looking online like, okay, this must be one of these deals where it's a pulp novel from a long time ago that they are reinventing for the
Reinventing. Yeah.
comics.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Yeah. It definitely. I mean, for this type of story, Brubaker Phillips kind of set the standard, and at least for the first issue, it's ranked. It's right up there, right, with
Hmm.
with the stuff that they have done. So, as you mentioned, Jacob Phillips is following along very, very well. Now, the art, I mean, I wouldn't want this for superhero comics, this art, but
Oh
for
no,
this noir
no.
story, really good. You can easily identify the characters. So, yeah, it's, I will, I don't think I'm going to buy it month to month,
Hmm.
but I do think whenever it hits the app that I'm going to be reading the rest of this series because it's 6 issues. Shouldn't be too big of a deal.
Well,
So
it's just a six
I'm
issue
in.
story then.
I think it's a six
Okay.
issue story. If what I saw, I had just pulled up a page and I closed it. Sorry about that,
No, no, I, I,
but yeah, I think
I
it's a
know.
six
Yeah.
issue story.
Okay. No, I mean, Condon's got his own. He's got some
Hmm.
street cred now,
Yep.
and Jacob. It's not. I mean, Brew. You can't. I mean, how many people are going to be at the same level of Brubaker and Sean Phillips?
Hmm.
Um, Kill or Be Killed is to me one of my top 20 books I've read in my lifetime. So, um, it, but this is a more, maybe it's not as deep or whatever, but it's
Hmm.
fun and it's
Yeah. No, it's really good.
it's yeah,
So yeah.
it's got some meat to it.
All right. So you got any other comments about any of these 3 books? Are you ready to rank them? I have a feeling we're going to be ranking them the same.
Okay, yeah, I'm ready to rank. Yeah,
Okay. You want to go top to bottom or bottom to top?
let's go least favorite to
Okay,
most
so the
favorite,
bottom of the
bottom to top.
bottom five.
Yeah.
All right. So you want a 3, 2, 1 and say it out loud, or you just want to both of us say end of life?
Yeah, it's end of life.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah.
I agree, and I wanted to like that book. I really, really did, and it just did not do anything for me. So all right. So your middle
Yeah.
of the pack one is
Bleeding Hearts.
Bleeding Hearts.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I think that's the of the 2 bottom feeders. That's the one that there's a slight chance that I can maybe turn around on. But yeah, and then of course that leaves as number 1 the longest title, The
One,
Peril of the
two,
Brutal
three,
Dark,
four, five,
and
six,
Ezra
seven,
Kane
eight,
Mystery.
nine, 10.
Yeah,
Yeah, 10 words in that title.
but only 1 colon. At least you got
But
that
what?
going for you.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm against most. I'm most usually against colons. Yeah. I mean, except for the one I have.
yeah.
Everybody needs a colon. Yeah.
Everybody needs a colon. Just one.
Just one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's. Yeah. Well, I think we're definitely in sync on this, and I don't know. I sometimes it's almost unfair to say you have to be sold by the first issue.
Right, but
But
sometimes you
sometimes I
do.
go
I
way
mean,
too long. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I'm like, why did I keep reading this?
hmm
And spent $30 in $5 comics before I gave up on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so and right now, I'm not super high on Ezra Kane. I mean,
Hmm.
so if I were to rank those 3 or grade them, it'd be like 7.52.
Yeah. I wouldn't like just go,
Yeah,
my life is, meaningless without this. I mean,
yeah, but it's good enough that it deserves a second look.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I enjoyed the first issue enough that I'm kind of intrigued. I want to come
Yeah.
back, but yeah, End of Life didn't do anything for
I
me.
mean, I'd be interested to know, thinking in the terms of what Vertigo was like when it first launched in the
Hmm.
90s or early 90s, whatever it was. What the rate of success was for new books back then. I
Hmm.
mean, you can't expect a 3 for 3.
No,
With
no.
this. I mean, and that whole nice house by the sea is not. You can't. That's not fair to count that as part of this
No.
necessarily. It's
I do.
yeah.
I do want to say that I think all three of them were well written. I think all
Hmm.
three of them were well drawn. I just don't really care for the characters in two out of the three of them. I
Yeah.
think it's the bigger problem. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's a chance that could turn around, but I'm gonna have to be told that it turns around. I'm not gonna spend my money to find
Right.
out if it
Right.
turns around or not. So,
Right.
all right. Final thoughts before we CLZ shake it.
I'm ready to shake.
All right. I am also. So let's see. Let's just shake here. Oh, great. Imagine what title I got as my random book.
Rom.
You are 100% correct. All right. So this is ROM issue number 25. Okay. Now, probably the most interesting thing about this issue is that it is written by Stephen Grant.
Oh,
And of
yeah.
course, with it being written by Stephen Grant, that means that if you were so inclined, you could go back and listen to a past episode of the Campus Comics cast where I got to interview Stephen Grant. Episode, get this, 12. 7 years
Man,
ago. So, yeah, so episode 12, you can hear my interview with Stephen Grant, and he talks about, get this, the Marvel Comics Life of Pope John Paul II comic.
which I have that book.
Okay. I had copies of it, and my son actually, I gave it to him. So yeah, I don't have
Awesome.
a second copy. But anyway, ROM 25th issue of the series, so that's about a third of the way through. I do not remember the story, but Mal Milgram cover art. There you go, ROM.
Al
Imagine that.
Milgram's awesome. I think
Yeah.
he's one of the best cover designers ever.
This has got kind of one of those ROM fighting ROM covers. So,
Okay.
all right, Mike, what do you got for your CLZ show?
All
Do better
right.
than me.
I hope. Oh well. Well, it's old. I'll give it that.
Okay.
It is GI Combat number 12. 12
Ooh.
from 1954.
Okay.
It's in a 1.8 condition and worth a whopping $25. I bought it from, does it say here? Oh, yeah, Dr. Volts out in Utah
Okay.
back in 2018 because it was just old and it was like, I don't think I paid that much for it. I don't know what I know I didn't pay 25, but it's an old GI Combat was a quality comic book before DC acquired the rights to all
Hmm.
quality books in like the mid 50s, but since this came out in 54, this is right before DC took it over and, took over the old title. So I certainly didn't read it. It's just I just got it
It
for
might
the
fall apart if you'd had.
right, yeah. 1.8, yeah. So
So, for the record, I shook my phone 4 more times while you were talking, and I
Rom.
got ROM 3 out of the 4.
Okay, you got to diversify. You've got to diversify.
I think maybe we're getting to the point where whenever I shake ROM, Micronauts, Star Wars, or Silver Surfer, I need to shake again
Yeah.
because it's yeah. I mean, like I said, it's okay. So I've got well, I guess with the later series of ROM, I mean probably a 14th of my collection is ROM, and a 14th is Micronauts, and a 14th is Star Wars, and a 14th is Silver Surfer, right?
Yeah.
So it's yeah, pretty standard that I'm gonna be pulling one of those one of those 4 titles. So I'll see. I shook again, got Star Wars. Shook again.
it's
Hey, Doomsday Clocks. There are other
oh,
titles
fantastic.
in my collection.
Yeah.
Oh, back to Micronauts.
You're gonna have to add more books to your personal collection.
I guess so.
Even
Or
if it's
maybe-
not something you plan on keeping.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking about purging some stuff from my personal collection, so that's going to make it worse whenever I do that. So.
Oh my goodness.
All right, so what's coming up, Mike, on the next episode of the Campus Comics Cast?
Well, very soon we will have episode 232, pre-orders for April 2026.
All right. And Mike, if somebody wanted to reach out to you besides podcasts at birdcomics.com, how might they go about doing that?
You can directly email me at mike@comicshoproadshow Mike at comicshoproadshow.com. I started to say Gmail, yeah. And and you can also get either one of us at the Campus Comics Cast Facebook page. That's always a good way to do it too.
And I'm Scott Reed. You can find me at burgcomics.com, burgcomics.com, where there are links to my social media pages and eBay store. And we'll be back soon with pre-orders.
Couldn't really reply, and then it's not showing up as like unread. Unread, yeah. So then I forget about it, and yeah. So I understand. So trust me, I'll have people say, yeah. Like, well, last Saturday I had a guy message me on Facebook. He said I had showed a picture of a comic book. And the guy said he wanted it. I said, okay, I'll send it back. Just get to me before 11 o'clock. Like I didn't want to risk not selling it. I forgot to pull it off the wall whenever I got there. It was in my hold book, and like I got lucky. Another vendor came over and had pulled that book and set it in his pile. And then this guy shows up, and I'm like, I totally forgot. And I went to that guy's pile, and it was in there. So I took it out of the pile because I promised it to this guy. And then when the other guy came over, I said, I apologize. I pulled that book from your pile. But he said, you're who I had the pile with. He had forgotten that he had put it into my book. So it was okay, I guess. So, yeah.